Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a little after 5 o'clock Pacific time on a Wednesday afternoon, and I think it's a perfect time to share a cup of Joe. What do you say, Craig?
I could go for that.
Well, it's been a crazy couple of years, a crazy year, and certainly a crazy last couple of days. Today is clearly an historical day for a lot of reasons. Um, But you have a particular shit-eating grin on your face today. I was wondering how you doing.
Well, I think you know. I was expecting a phone call and went to bed last night. And at 11 o'clock, the phone rang and the person said, "Hello, this is Ivanka Trump." And the next words out of her mouth, I'm sure I'll never forget. The president has commuted your sentence. And then she went into some, nice talk about me. That lots of people had spoken very well about me, and that she looked forward to my future, especially in advocacy.
Nice, nice. Oh, that it's kind of funny because, well, and I don't mean funny in the humorous way, but in the strange and oddity way. That number one, I just want to clarify once again, the Human Solution International is not a political organization. We're not politically affiliated. We have members that are on both extremes of the spectrum, and we have a lot of members that are right down the middle. And frankly, I don't give a damn what party's in control ever. We're about civil rights, human rights, freedom, liberty, and personal choice, and all that fun stuff. That's all we've ever been about. And I've sat there as an advocate through multiple administrations. I've watched the pendulum swing this way and that way and this way and that way. And I've watched people, hoping and changing and just say no and every kind of possible thing you could imagine. But what I do know is that I've sat in federal trials and watched people get convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison and 10 years in prison. And I've never actually seen somebody catch a life sentence in person, but I've talked to people shortly afterward. And, for the last 12 years, I've been on a mission myself, and I've worked with people that, from myself to many other people that have been caught up in the criminal justice system. And I use that term justice system very loosely because in so many times, in so many ways, there's been very little what I would have considered to be justice. But through all the time, we've been advocating and supporting, and sometimes advocating just means, hey, we're here. Sometimes it means making a phone call to a warden and saying, hey, give this guy his medicine because he's sick. Or sometimes it's calling up a family member and just saying, hey, I just heard from your dad or your brother or your sister or whoever, and they say they're all right, or whatever. But I have never experienced what I experienced last night, not even close. I mean, I got first, you called me up and you sent me a text message and telling me, oh no, I Dee Dee sent me an article that said that had named you as one of the people that were pardoned. And I don't trust, newspapers. So the first thing I did was call you. I'm like, hey, what's up? What am I reading? And
I
you're like,
went
yeah, I read it
right
too.
to the White House even after Craig texted me. What, are you kidding me? He could have been hacked.
Yeah, exactly. And then last night you told me about getting a call from Ivanka. I'm like, whoa. You told me you were feeling, kind of drunk. I was feeling the same. I was literally just going, man, it's so surreal. It was like when my case got dismissed, it was that kind of a feeling where, I've been battling for 6 years in and out of jail and in trials and fighting, and all of a sudden, boop, it's over. And I was like, whoa, let's get out, you know, let's get the hell out of here. And then when I found out last night that it wasn't just you, but several other people that we've been advocating and supporting for a long time, I was just completely blown away. And that's why I was getting to the politics side of this thing, because I don't really care what you think about politics. I'm not going to have a conversation unless you want to get real, and we're going to go behind the door and talk about history and facts and the truth, and then everything starts getting really weird. Most people don't want to do that. Most people like to have their opinion about things and this and that. But my guess is there's about 10 people that I can think of that definitely think one thing about the previous administration, because the one thing that could have impacted in the most, and you know, there's three people that particularly come to mind in this case, and of course that's you and John Knock and Michael Pelletier are the three that I had the most connection to. Now, I was there for Noah Kleinman. I was there at his trial, and we were advocating for him at the time he got locked up. But he's been in there for, I think, 6 years, as opposed to, you know, 18 years and 20 years. And I don't know how long John's been in, but it's been a while.
John's been the same as me. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Beth Curtis, she was actually one of the original board members of the Human Solution when we became a 501c3. So I've been working with her off and on, you know, for a long time. And I know the tremendous work she's done, you know, on behalf of John. And just to see this all happen at once, it's like, I still haven't really processed it all. You know, I can handle, you know, your experience with it, because I've kind of lived it with you. And the others, I mean, I've supported Michael Pelletier. I own some of his art pieces, and you know, I know his story, and we've written him letters, but I never had the one-on-one relationship that I had with you, or that I have with you. And John was the same. I mean, I knew him through Beth, and you know, we've written letters and stuff, but he doesn't know me the way, you know, the way I know some of the other folks that we've worked with. But nonetheless, when you advocate for somebody for a long time, you feel a part of their struggle. Like, that's part of what it's about, is, you know, there's empathy and sympathy both involved. And I still, like I said, I can't quite get my head around it all. It's a wonderful thing not to be able to get your head around, but like, I go back to the day when they said my case was over. It took me a couple of days. I went out to a river and sat there and fished for a couple of days. And as it was just kind of soaking in, like, I'm done, I don't have to go back, you know? So tell me, I mean, my God, share the experience. How are you feeling? Like, tell me about it.
Well, you got a taste of my feeling leading up to the big event last night. And what that was is on Monday in the morning, I got a call from Sarah from the Last Prisoner Project asking what is the best number for the White House to call you on. So I figure that's got to be good news. I can't imagine them calling me to say, yeah, we flushed your application down the toilet.
Yeah.
Then a little while later, Amy called, and I hadn't talked to her in 6 months.
Right.
And the same question, the White House wants a phone number, you know. Well, that was Friday morning, and as you can well guess, my phone wasn't further than the length of my arm from me.
I can imagine.
And if I was talking to somebody on the phone like you, and the phone rang,
right.
Joe, I gotta go. This could be
it. Yeah. No, I'm right there. No, dude, yeah.
But then the announcement was going to come out, you know, that we were going to get calls on Monday. Then there was going to be a big announcement at noon on Tuesday. Then there was, you know, different gossip back and forth. Well, then it got to be 11 o'clock at night. And there was no answer. And I'm thinking, as unpredictable as things have been, you know, out of the White House recently, I thought, you know what? He might have gotten mad and just said, you know, F it, you know.
Yeah, anything's possible. That was for sure.
So really, as a prisoner, especially a lifer, I've been through so many cycles of my appeal looks really good and no appeal court would stand for this and all that. And sure enough, here it comes tonight. Then the post-conviction efforts that all the facts are there, everybody's admitting that it's wrong and needs to be fixed tonight. So there's been so many cycles. Obama was cleared by the steering committee for clemency and all that there. And as you know, the prosecutor did some dirty stuff and blocked it.
Yep.
So, I mean, I had been through this so many times that last night I laid down and I was just kind of, well, he is president until noon tomorrow. So let's see. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, I think that's something that people don't realize, the emotional roller coaster that is like the roller coaster from hell that is the criminal justice system. Like when, from the moment that, a jury verdict comes back or a judge's sentence is issued and the gavel hits, I mean, you just like your whole spirit just gets smashed, and then you find a way back, and then you have hope again for some appeal or some action, and then like you said, sometimes, and then boom, it just gets smashed again, and then somehow you reconstitute it, bring it back up again, and you think you kind of get used to it, but you really don't, because every time you get smashed, it's not,
Oh, it hurts. It hurts and it makes you angry. But
yeah.
one thing I noticed you talked about earlier that has really kind of shocked me today is I've been featured on 2 news networks and of course did interviews for that, interviews with the 2 major Chicago newspapers and a bunch of other, media outlets over the course of today, just because my case stands out. And what surprised me is on both TV interviews and a couple of the other interviews that were for other publications, they would straight out ask me, so after all this, what do you think about Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know. Let me take it.
I don't need there's a big move on the divide people politically and all that. So I tried to thread the needle as best as I could and say, I'll be the first one to say, to me, Donald Trump has done some things that I consider indefensible.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, under Donald Trump, the First Step Act was passed the end of 2018,
Yep.
which right away, in the first 2 or 3 months, sent home 6,500 crack cocaine offenders.
Yep.
It rejiggered the sentences of thousands more.
Yep.
And it allowed for inmates to be able to be sent to home confinement for part of their sentence. And then, of course, the CARES Act in March of last year, which allowed the Attorney General to send people who were deemed no threat to society and that were, potentially susceptible to COVID, that he could send them home to home confinement, just because it was the right thing to do. So yes, under
don't forget
under
the
Donald
Farm
Trump, the criminal justice reform has taken leaps and bounds.
Well, and don't forget the Farm Bill that opened the gateway for the MORE Act or some similar thing to come in. I mean, the notion that the cannabis plant under any name or guideline is allowed by the federal government to be planted, harvested, processed, and used. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, and again, it doesn't take away from the other side of the coin. Clearly the things that happen, and you can't. The thing that gets me about it is the partisan side of it all causes people to not see the truth for the truth, but watch it only through a single lens that only sees one side of it. And I told some people today, I said, anybody knows me knows I am absolutely not partisan. I had more terrible things happen to me under Democrat rule than under Republican rule. And I'm certainly not a Republican or a Democrat. I'll be real clear about that. But I think that the thing that happens now that I think we all need to maybe pay attention to is that since the Democrats now control all 3, well, both sides of Congress and the executive office that the news cycle is going to not be hate-filled anymore in the mainstream news. There's always going to be one channel or so that does issue the fire and brimstone against the other side, but that's one as opposed to all of them. And I think what's going to happen is all of a sudden the land of milk and honey is going to start being a little better and look through rosier glasses, because that's generally what happens. And maybe when there's not so much venom and hatred being spilled around, maybe the people will decide that it's okay to feel okay. Maybe it's okay to not be so divided. Maybe it's okay to have our own thoughts and opinions. Maybe it's okay to look at the truth for the truth. Maybe the truth will start being told more. All of those things are certainly more possible when the media is not, attacking all the time on both sides. And hopefully maybe we'll see more of that like we did the last time around.
We can only hope. Can only hope. And we can hope that the strides that have been made over the last four years under that administration, hopefully this new administration today will carry that forward, because the First Step Act was designed for a second step, and hopefully we can get to that second step. Hopefully we can get to the MORE Act
or something like it. I mean, if it's not it, it can be the next incarnation. But one thing good that we have today that we didn't have is we have a whole new class of advocates, and we have a lot of new life in advocacy groups. There's dozens and dozens of groups that have been advocating on behalf of you and people that are going through grief. And to get victories like this, of course, everybody's claiming credit for it and whatever, but it doesn't matter. The point is that it's happened, and there's people that are celebrating. And if everybody wants to, claim a piece of the pie for themselves, if it keeps them fighting, good, take the pie. You can have my piece. It's all good. I just want this to continue, because it's not done. There's still people locked up. There's still people getting locked up. There's still going to be more people locked up unless we finish the job. And I think that's the critical piece of this, that maybe, we can find enough unity to just finish this off. And, I guess my next question to you would be the $1 million question. So what are you going to do now?
I think I'm going to really devote myself to advocacy. And as you know, there's many advocacy groups out there, and most of them really have a specialty where they're the best at it. Nobody else does trial prep and all that, and trial support, as well as the human solution. There's just nobody that's in the same league. Yeah. Nobody's in the same league as the Last Prisoner Project for supporting prisoners when they get out of prison. Of course,
Sure.
There's Amy's group, has targeted clemency. Freedom Grow targets people in prison, trying to help them, if they're on a marijuana conviction.
Sure.
And my niche where I want to fit is I want to be the guy to try to do everything I can to get my foot in the door in Washington, D.C., and say that just because a law carries a life sentence is nothing to be ignored, because there is people, even with no prior convictions and with only a marijuana charge, there is people that get life sentences. I'm proof. I'm a person
Absolutely.
that a lot of people don't realize actually exists in our justice system.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, and I know this is personal, and if it's too personal, obviously, you can waive it, but there are people in this movement, and I say the cannabis quote legalization movement, that are very clear about what their point of view is, and if it's not about cannabis, they don't really care. I'm certainly more about nonviolent crimes, and I don't really care what the crime is. If there wasn't a victim, I think the sentence, should be commiserate. But what's your point of view when it comes to, advocating or lobbying on behalf? Where would your line be as to who should not be facing a harsh sentence like that.
Well, I guess my number one thing is marijuana sentences like mine are a symptom of the larger failed war on drugs. Most drug sentences, especially in the federal courts, most of the drug sentences don't fit the crime. They are disproportionate to the crime. You know, a violent crime will carry up to most times 20 years. But yet, you know, a marijuana crime carries life. And I'm here to say first time offenders get life for a marijuana charge.
Absolutely.
And so really my sentence is a symptom of the larger failed war on drugs where it completely needs to be rejiggered, and let's put crime, and let's target crime like is happening in all of our major cities over the last year with uh, 50% rise in murders in Chicago, almost 100% rise in shootings, and there's a huge rises in carjackings and violent crimes that actually hurt people or worse, and that's where the effort needs to be. And the guy that's fixing trucks that somebody may use to haul marijuana, really, we don't need to worry about him as much as we need to worry about the guy that's out on the street bragging about all the people he shot.
Yeah, I think that if we were to take the resources that we have used in the war on drugs, and rather than continue to get the low-hanging fruit of especially cannabis offenders, I can't imagine, maybe we could take down violent crime. I mean, do you realize what budgets are being put towards eradicating farms and people's small businesses that are cannabis based? I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars are spent, and the manpower that's spent. And what if just one season that they took all that manpower and they said, I know, let's go after violence? You think there'd be less violence?
Of course there would. Of course that's where our police forces need to be rejiggered. They're going after the easy, low hanging fruit. That they're going after the offenders that probably won't hurt them. They're going after the offenders that will do anything to stay out of prison, including snitching out everybody else.
Especially snitching out everybody else. One of the things, and we have a lovely guest here that I just can't wait to talk to. I guess I want to make a quick last point. This is one of the things that we have a lot of people that are involved in, quote, legalization. And what people need to realize is when we pass laws that don't finish the job and they allow a very small amount of people to be legal, and they don't make it to where everybody has access to that thing that they want, then there's always going to be a black market, and there will always be people that are illegal. And when those people are competing with the people that are legal, the people that are legal turn into those same rats, and they go after those people because they consider them competition. I see it happen here in California all the time. And that's, I guess, maybe part of this whole reason for let's just end the prohibition at all. All right, well, we have an amazing guest here with me, and I'm so glad you could join us. And now this is Mary Bailey from the Last Prisoner Project, and we met for the first time just a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I think it was mid-December, beginning December. Time is flying.
Okay. It's all just been a crazy whirlwind. The last few weeks have just been insane. Now, for everybody who's watching, this is Mary Bailey with the Last Prisoner Project. And I have been working with advocacy groups forever, and lots of them in all different capacities. But when I met Mary, I met Jocko first, and then he introduced me to Sarah, and then Sarah and I spoke, and then Mary and I spoke, I guess it was October when I was anyways, a couple months ago, we met for the first time. And I have never seen an organization that is relatively small, like most of them are, accomplish so much in a way that just, to me, it's just like a giant wave just coming through. And I have never been so impressed with the ability to rally media support, you know, advocates to come together, raising money, having the reach to talk to the people that you need to, and ultimately have your hand in the freedom in some way, shape, or form. I'm not the one cutting up the credit pie. I'm just saying you guys were involved in, I mean, I can't even count how many people. And yesterday, Craig and I were talking before I knew that others had been pardoned. And then Dee Dee sends me this article, or the release from the White House, and I start reading these names, and I'm like, whoa. And I was thinking about you going, oh my God. And of course, it's 3 hours earlier there. When I woke up in the morning, I sent you that message. I knew you weren't going to see it for a while, but I was just like completely blown away. So what are you thinking?
Is that for Craig or for me?
Oh, this is for you.
Oh my gosh, I'm ecstatic. I'm speechless, obviously. You know, from starting with Last Prisoner Project from the very beginning, it's been less than 2 years since the very first phone call I ever had. I'm getting a phone call right now from Corvine Cooper. Hello there.
Hey, Mary, hold on 1 second, okay?
Okay, I'm on a radio show. You guys are live right now.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on, don't hang.
Another one feeling pretty good about life right now.
So this is Corbin Cooper. He was just released in Louisiana. He's been in prison for 8 years of a life sentence.
Yep.
And he's been out for just a couple minutes. So I've been waiting for this phone call.
Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
Hello.
And I got a little different.
Hello.
LPD. Oh, y'all can't face up. It's the LPD gang.
Hey, buddy.
No, it's LPP on mine, but I gang bang. I'm bang for LPP.
All right. So what you guys just listened to was, now I remember when Corvine got taken into custody, and you know, kind of when we really first, it was about the same time Jimmy Romans got taken in, and we had really just kind of gotten our prison outreach program was really kind of getting to its peak, and we had gotten to know and had met, you know, so many of these inmates. And it was in the beginning stages of my show, when it was at its, you know, first incarnations. Craig, you were just starting to come onto the show. And I remember when Jimmy Romans called in, and, you know, he had found us, and, you know, we had raised up I don't know, a couple $100 to put on his books. He didn't have any money on his books. And, you know, we connected with his sister and, you know, began to advocate for him. And then I remember when Corvine got, you know, given that sentence, and I think he was one of the last ones that I was aware of, you know, that had gotten a life sentence. Now, I never really worked with Corvine. I never, you know, it was when our outreach program was starting to, you know, do its weird thing. But I know that he's been reached out to by our organization numerous times. We've written letters to him, but more, you know, as we were writing letters to everybody. I didn't have a personal relationship with him. But how about you, Craig? Did you know him?
I didn't. I didn't. I know I've met him. I know him by face and all that. He and I were somewhere together for a brief amount of time.
Okay.
But I can't really say I know him, you know.
It was one of the cases in the South that we were paying attention to back then, Joe.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it was just one of those ones that, you know, myself, Sharon, Catherine, you know, all the crew down in the Southeast, we were paying attention to that, and of course some of the others. I got to say one thing before she comes back on. You guys were talking about this earlier. You know, the all of the politics aside, and you know how, and to be clear, so everybody understands, I hate fucking everybody. Let's be clear on this, okay? Hate everyone. the reason that all of this is happening, all the commutations and departures, when Obama, you mentioned the history with you going to the steering committee and when Obama was president, and Trump, for all of the partisan stuff and who does what or whatever, the reason that this is happening is because of the work that's being done on the ground. You know, we talked about this previously when you were released and put into your home confinement, and the fact that you're getting calls from these people who are doing it on the ground and telling you to get ready for a call from the White House or what number it is, just proves the fact they are doing the work. Everybody's doing work. Obviously, the Human Solution International is absolutely in there, but that's what's going on here. And for all the unity talk and everything, which is marvelous, fantastic, you know me, love wins, I'm there. The boots on the ground is what's going to keep that, and we got to keep it in front of their face, because we have to continue do what we do and keep it in front of everybody's face and let them know that prohibition needs to end. Oh, and again, and Joe was asking about what lines are crossed, and he knows me very well, and Greg, you know me as well, and I'm all about human rights. I don't give a damn, you know, and I want constitutional protections to be in play, and I don't like government force, and I don't like force at all except for self-defense, and I like it a lot then. But you know, this is an important time, and it's still in the forefront. You guys mentioned the MORE Act. And you know, the interesting thing about that, the other legislation you were talking about with all the people that were released to 6,500, the main reason that happened, of course, more than any other, was because years ago, when the cocaine was a big deal about this, years ago, when a certain group of people got a gram of cocaine and they got sentenced to supervision, and another group of people had a gram of cocaine and they got sentenced to 20 years. You know, and a lot of it had to do with the disproportionate sentencing, like all criminal justice reform seems to be based on. And we just got to keep everything in front of their face. Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, equal protection under the law. I mean, that's what the sign says.
Yeah, isn't that a thing? That's a thing, right?
It's supposed to be a thing. And I think that if we could manifest that, then the laws might change a little. Because, you know, when the laws affect one group of people different than another, it's easy to have those kind of laws. But if the laws affected us all the same, it wouldn't matter who you were, where you came from.
Well, you know, I talked about this before. I wrote an article about 5 years ago, about the original prison sentencing movement. You know, the LBJ, and I'll make this real quick. LBJ created a commission to look at the disproportionate sentencing on the basis of discretion. And that's how parole was eliminated from the dynamic federally. They were taking discretion out of everything, and they came up with determinate sentencing, which we know has been a big hammer for the feds, with no parole and very little good time, which they've lessened the lesson. But the whole movement was based upon the fact that judges were giving people sentences that were completely disproportionate. This is in the 60s during the civil rights movement. And they created this commission, and the commission changed everything and took all the discretion away from the judges and put it in the hands of the prosecutors. Oh boy.
Well, that always works.
Oh, does not work. And that's exactly what, that's
Good
exactly
idea.
what, yeah, oh yeah, it's great. Oh, yeah, it's great. So this,
time, right?
yeah. And that's how the dial moved. And they were believing that things were going, and of course it would have been fine if they would act constitutionally and ethically, imagine that. But the whole thing was a discretion moved right into the hands of the prosecutors, and they were the ones that created all this disparity they did the same thing the judges were doing. I mean, there's no difference. The disproportionate stuff still exists, they just expanded it. So anyway, we just got to keep it in front of their face. And Mary, great work, by the way.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm so sorry I hopped off like that, but
Look,
you know,
we want you to get more calls. What are you talking about? Get more calls.
Yeah.
Who else is calling? Shit,
I know,
get some more
I'm like
calls.
over here. I've got like a million things happening all at the same time, so I'm doing my best to juggle things accordingly. But it's just, I really wanted to talk to Craig and
yes.
say, Craig, I'm so happy for you and your whole family. And Sarah told me that you were getting your ankle brace taken off today, or your ankle, the monitor bracelet.
It's been off for about an hour and a half now.
So cool. Makes me so happy. It's just been, you guys, I've been working with Craig for I don't know how many months now. It feels like
Since you started.
we've been friends for a long time, but it's not been that long yet. But I am constantly learning from Craig, and he's come on board to be. He's been kind of managing our reentry as a reentry coordinator for Last Prisoner Project, and having somebody who's been there and knows and has experienced it and is so kind and professional and just hilarious. Craig makes me laugh, and I love that. It's just such a pleasure getting to know Craig over the last couple months, and the fact that now he received this executive commutation, I'm just like mind blown. We've been trying to get the BOP to approve an employment with Last Prisoner Project, officially being an employee. And it's been a little bit of a headache, which is really frustrating because this is exactly what you would think that the BOP would want somebody, the kind of job that a justice impacted individual should have. And they should have no problem accepting a position of this nature. And it's just, so I'm so happy that hopefully that will not be a problem now.
Now they don't have a say in it now, do they?
Well,
Yes,
the BOP doesn't. But remember, I told you that I contacted the U.S. Pardon and Parole or the Parole and Probation Office
Right,
for help in getting a job that I was looking at applying for in the federal court.
right.
And the probation officer went crazy saying, oh, no, that job's too much for you, all this and that. I got a call from my new probation officer literally as I walked out the door to go get my ankle bracelet off. And guess who it was?
No way.
It's her.
Wow.
But the other thing I also noticed today is I've been on 3 different news TV broadcasts, the different newspapers, a bunch of different media coverage. I did a lot of interviews, even with radio stations here in the local Chicago area. And sure enough, the halfway house got a hold of me and told me that I need approval for that. And I shouldn't be doing that because I don't have approval. And I wasn't talking about me or that so much as how our criminal justice system is and how I'm going to fight to change it.
Let me
That was
ask
the
one
first
question
words out of the
before
parole officer.
you go back to Mary. Let me ask a question. Hi, Mary. So Craig, I was listening to the supervision aspect of it, understanding federal law the way I do. You are on post-conviction supervision now, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so
Sentenced to
please,
5 years of it.
yeah, I know exactly what it is. Please explain to everybody what that is for you and what can happen still to you, so everybody understands how this works.
Supervised release is basically what replaced parole. It's like a probation setup, and it's federal. People oversee where you live. Like my house has to be inspected over the next few days. Even my mother has to go through interviews with them. And like I say, they're already complaining about me talking to the newspaper about things I obviously have a First Amendment right to do, And but should they decide that I have violated my supervised release, that is a whole new criminal charge. And
That is
I
correct.
can get 5 years in prison for it.
That's right.
And the odd part is, and I've actually seen this in the federal system.
Mhm.
I know one guy that got a 33-month sentence for methamphetamine. He had 4 years of supervised release.
Mhm.
He would violate it. They'd send him back to prison for usually about 3 years. He'd get back out. They'd violate him again. He was my cellmate in 2010.
So the other thing that they do, please let them know, is that part of the supervised release that you do, let's say you didn't get us, like the way the sentencing guidelines is, let's say the crime that you're convicted of doesn't require mandatory supervised release. You still have to be supervised for the good time that you earn when you're released, even if you don't have a formal supervised release. So they try and keep their hands on you as long as they can. And all of that, they can violate you for that. And if you don't have the 5 years, 4 years, if you just have the good time, let's say you did 10 years, you got all this good time, that's what they can send you back for as well and make you basically do every day of your time. It's nuts.
And that the odd things that they can violate you over. like a dangerous weapon. I've seen them violate people for having a baseball bat in their car.
That's right. Well, I didn't mean to throw a downer on this. I just want everybody to understand what you're still dealing with. That's I think that's really important, is particularly when you guys are talking about the reentry aspect of things, because they're still in their lives, and they still have that modicum of control, which again is another barrier to achieve the things that all of us want to achieve.
Well, and I think honestly that's an element of criminal justice reform that needs to be addressed. I mean, what is the social benefit to monitoring somebody to that degree? I mean, I thought the deal was you go and you do your time, you paid your price, and you get out, and you get a new start. You get a chance to do it over again. But when it's set up like that, to where, like Bobby was just saying, I mean, I've watched it. It's an ant trap. I mean, they literally, I mean, it's geared to try to reel you back in. And, recidivism should be bad choices, not, somebody that's in control trying to catch you. I mean, I think that there's a lot of work still with criminal justice reform that needs to address this. And I know there's big low-hanging fruit we need to finish attacking first, but I don't want to quit till we finish the job. I mean, I think that, when, for example, Last Prisoner Project, your mission is to make it so there's nobody left in prison for cannabis, right? I mean, that's the deal. Nobody. And that wouldn't happen unless people weren't getting sucked back in. So just because everybody got out for a second, if they get thrown back in again, the work's not done. So I think we definitely need to, just keep that in our sights for sure.
I have an advantage because I have a great employer. A lot of people don't get out of prison and manage to hook up with a great employer right away.
For
The
sure.
Last Prisoner Project has really had my back right away. Also, I will never fail a drug test, which a lot of people that get out of prison can't say that. Yeah. And I know what the rules are, and I know what the pitfalls are. So
Well, this has got to be.
I have a better trajectory than most.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly why Craig is the perfect person as a LPP reentry coordinator. And it's awesome because our other amazing LPP reentry coordinator is Evelyn LaChapelle, who is in prison for 5 years for cannabis. And she lives in Oakland. And it's nice that we have one female and one male too. So you get both sides of, different perspectives and ways that people might need support. And it's just been it's really exciting seeing the different, as we've been creating our reentry, it started off as a reentry program. It's changed very much from the beginning of what we imagined we would be doing to what we actually are doing now. It's very, very different. And, I feel like that is what an organization is as you're building it. You have this game plan at the beginning, and then as you actually are in the trenches doing the work, you realize that through a needs assessment, wow, what you need to do is very different than what you thought you needed to do at the beginning. So we've been trying to pivot as best we can. I mean, everybody's been pivoting for the last year because of COVID, of course, and it's just been quite a wild ride, I would say. But with days like today, when these amazing humans are getting their freedom, and it just feels so good, and to know that they're reunited with their families, and it's just such a wonderful feeling. So it's really great to share that feeling with you guys and get to have this conversation. So thank you so much for the invite for me to participate today.
Oh, absolutely. So how many people have you heard from today that were affected by this?
Well, I've been texting with Craig, Corvain. I've definitely been going back and forth with some other advocates. I've been in touch with Wei Long, his family. I haven't talked to Wei yet, but I talked to the prison where he is, trying to figure out when they're releasing him, making sure that he has transportation, all of that. And, you know, so that's way I really want to get an update about Michael Pelletier. I haven't heard any updates there. So
You know
Craig,
what?
if you learn anything, let me know.
I have Dee Dee on the line on the phone, and I'm gonna just hijack her for a second. I'm gonna bring
Yeah.
her up because she
I've
might.
been sitting with her all day.
Yeah, I'll bet she may know something though. And plus, I'd love to get her in on this conversation for a
I
second.
love Dee. Dee Dee's like one of my favorite humans on earth. I adore
Mine as well. Well, she's the reason that we met, so gotta love that. Dee Dee, you're live on the air, and I know I never tell you when I'm gonna bring you up, but how you doing? Uh-oh, there's another Dee Dee. Hold on. She's on the line twice, and I
There's
think,
not another Dee Dee.
no, but she called in twice, and I think I got the wrong one. Let me try this one. How about this one? Is that you, Dee Dee?
Am I there?
There you are. There you are. So you're live with me and Mary Bailey and Craig Cecil and Bobby Rodrigo. How you doing today?
Well, I'm about as excited as everybody, and it's just so much goodness and excitement, and the sweet taste of freedom. It's just really hard to even process or digest. It's just so much good in one moment. Yes.
Absolutely. So have you heard any more from Michael Pelletier? I know you've been advocating hard on his behalf for many years, and you've been in much closer contact with him than many people.
Yes. Well, Mary knows every single thing about what I know about everybody, because I'm at every second I'm always texting Mary. She's just like.
I love it, Dee Dee. I love every single message you send me.
But the last I heard was this morning, and he wasn't sure if what he got was a commutation or a pardon or something else. So he was a little bit confused what it was that he actually got. But he knows he was on the list, and he had a plane ticket and ready to go to Florida to be with his brother.
Got it.
So that was the last I heard, and hopefully I won't hear from him ever again on Corling.
Yes.
And next time definitely as a free man in Florida with his brother.
Fantastic. All right, Dee Dee. Well, I just wanted to bring you into this conversation. I feel like we're capturing a little moment of history right now that was never going to happen again, and in this way. And you've been such a important part of it, and you've been instrumental in so many things that have affected so many people in this positive way. So I just wanted to make sure that you were part of this energy exchange here, and I love you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. We love you so much.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
I did, okay, and Craig, oh my God, Craig. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay.
All right, Dee
take
Dee.
care.
Thank you. All right. It's so
Can
funny.
you imagine how my text was lighting up in the middle of the night from Dee Dee?
I can only
I can imagine. Yeah. What's so funny is she's actually shy. Like she doesn't really, when you put the spotlight on her, she really doesn't want to be out there on the front. But man, don't piss her off.
do that. Been there, done that. I wanted to share something. My story about Dee Dee is I met Dee Dee at our very first fundraiser, which was July 2019 at Jim Belushi's house. I met her in Jim Belushi's backyard, and she was just the sweetest woman I'd ever met. And she had a beautiful, we had a silent auction set up with art that was painted by Michael Pelletier. And I think almost all of them sold. And she was just so sweet, and it was so nice to meet her. A couple months later, I was speaking at a conference in LA, and we were hosting a luncheon fundraiser at the Biltmore Hotel. And they gave us this beautiful boardroom to host this lunch, and I invited Dee Dee to come talk. And she told me that she's very shy and that she's never done anything like that before. But I will tell you, she came so prepared. She had an envelope for each prisoner that she communicates with. She had examples of their letters. She had examples of their art. It was so beautiful. And she spoke for about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and there was not a dry eye in the room. We had this L-shaped table because we were eating lunch, and she was in the front, and we're all looking at each other and just bawling. And I tell her that that moment for me was life-changing. I was already very passionate about doing this work, but just learning more about each prisoner, even more and their story. And, you know, I'm a very empathetic person, and just, I always think about the family members and the children and the wives and the moms. And it's just, and Dee Dee knows all of those things. And so it was just really great to connect with her. And I'm so grateful that there are people like Dee Dee out there to inspire a whole new generation of activists, because that's really what she does.
Yeah, that's so critical because, you know, I've been working with activists and volunteers for so many years. And, you know, I'm blessed with having some kind of a juggernaut that lives inside of me that never gives up and never gets tired. But most people don't have that. And I watch people come in with just fire and brimstone and they're ready to change the world. And then, you know, a week, a month, a year into it, they just, and they blow up and they wear down, and they just, it's so much trauma and so much emotion. It's literally being at war. And when you sit in courtrooms and you watch people's lives get torn apart, and you see the justice system for what it really is, and how you don't get actual justice in a trial, and then you see the damage it does to the families, and you see, I mean, oh my God, like if I had anything other than whatever I was given, I'd be all over the road.
Oh, he's complaining too much. He has something most people don't have. He has me.
He's got his team member. I mean, everything is
Great
all
team.
about your team, of course. And like you're saying, most orgs have such small teams. And for the first year and a half, it was just myself and Sarah Gersten. There was just two of us, and we just did the best we could. And it's been so great because cannabis companies have stepped up to help support us and donate. So we've been able to expand our team and create a really diverse team, which feels really good. It feels really good. We've got some amazing team members. I'm just so happy that Craig is one of them. We went from a team of 2, now we are working with a team of 6.
I love it.
Everybody has their different specialty. We've got a couple Ivy League colleagues on our team that are just absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
My background is very different than my colleagues. I've been in the cannabis industry for about 20 years, and I'm also an event producer. So I've come from the music industry. I've been an entertainment booker for many years. I host a lot of community events here on the island of Maui where I live. And I have worked for many nonprofits, but no criminal justice reform nonprofits in my past. So this has been a very a big lesson for me from start to where we are now, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. It can be very emotionally taxing, and I've learned that we have to take really good care of ourselves. We have to eat really well. We have to get exercise, and we need to really take care of ourselves, because nobody can give from an empty cup. As I think exactly what you were saying, Joe, of like, it takes a lot sometimes. And so, but again, it's like days like this where there's just so many happy people getting reunited with society and just their families and all of the above. So Craig, I am so thrilled for you. I can't wait to actually get to meet you in person one day. I really look forward to that.
I look forward to it as well, because we've got a lot of work ahead of us, though.
Well,
Yes.
I couldn't be more pleased that this all happened. I mean, we had this interview scheduled for a couple of weeks, and we had no idea that this was going to happen. And to be honest, I was afraid that because this happened, you weren't going to be available. And I'm so glad that you were able to make it. And hell, Craig, I'm glad I got you billed as my co-host, so you almost have to come. But I was like, geez, on a day like this, I mean, anything's possible. But I'm just really, really grateful that, we've got this amazing team that's growing. And I feel like our organization and your organization are part of a team. And I, as I've said, before, I'm looking forward to figuring out how we can, be of assistance, and how we can, we're building a bigger team as well. And I think that if you have somebody or a group of people that organize a plan that's working, it's easier for other people to assist that plan than to go and have another plan to try to do the same thing. And there's so much of that going on in the movement, and I put quotes on that because sometimes it's like a blender. But
Of course.
if we figure out, well, these guys do that and they do it really good, and you find a resource of somebody that could do some of that, here, send them on over there, because they got something for you.
Well, I've got some ideas.
Good. I
I've
love
got
that.
some ideas cooking. And so what we've been doing, for example, in the state of Michigan, is we've been building a coalition for about a year. It first started just by us advocating for Michael Thompson. It grew from me being a squeaky wheel, and I started, trying to get as much attention about Michael Thompson's case as possible. One way I figured out to do it is by working with cannabis companies in the state of Michigan, pulling at their heartstrings and saying, look, you guys are having this booming business, help us support people who are still incarcerated. So then working with all them, then they started putting me in touch with their lobbyists.
Nice.
And so I'm like, well, I need help getting in to speak with politicians. So that way I started working with the lobbyists. And then slowly but surely I started meeting other amazing organizations based in Michigan who, reentry orgs. The Michigan Cannabis Caucus has been amazing. Mike McCurdy is an incredible human. And I started working with Weed Maps, and they were putting me in touch with their lobbyists. And so all in all, we've been building a coalition in Michigan. And so we're starting to work with Dana Nessel, the Attorney General in Michigan. And hopefully soon, if she can stop getting kidnapping threats, we'll be working with Governor Whitmer.
Nice.
It's a work in progress, but we understand things have been really heavy in Michigan, as they have everywhere. But all of this going to say is that is the coalition we've started to build in Michigan. And so I've been thinking of that Michigan coalition as something a model that we can use in other states. So now we've started discussions with the state of California. Joe, your neck of the woods.
To know some people out there.
Joe actually has been involved in a reentry possibility in Michigan already with
nice.
myself. And so let's not run to California yet, Joe.
Well, I mean, I can absolutely plug you guys in Michigan so you can kind of see what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then as we have recently started working with an amazing consultant in California who has worked for the last two governors in California, specifically on criminal justice reform. And so he is starting to help us situate ourselves in California on a major coalition there. So as that continues to grow, we will be adding to the coalition. We're not there yet,
Nice.
but we're also doing this in Massachusetts currently. We also are talking with other entities in New Jersey. So there's in Illinois as well. So there's about 6 to 7 states right now this year.
Excellent.
So lots of irons in the fire, plenty of room for you guys to get on board. Once we have some things in place and we're ready to bring more people in, you will definitely hear about it, Joe.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. And one final point, we're actually out of time, but I got a time machine and I can sort of fudge it for a couple minutes. Michigan, next week, Michael Thompson's getting out, and I'm going to be out there on the weekend. I know the big hullabaloo is going to happen before that, but I'm going to let this one go by. I just want to spend some time with Michael and Dee Dee.
Yeah.
I don't need the media stuff, but man, what you guys were just, we've been working on that and with that for all this time. And, Dee Dee has just been a powerhouse, in just talk about a bulldog, man. She never slowed down. She never let up. And we've come in and been involved all the way through it. And then to see all of a sudden, finally, I got to listen to the call that I wasn't able to be on, but it was powerful. And just to listen to, everybody advocating for Michael, and then to find out that, it finally played in his favor. And they're still pulling what they could do. And that's on a state level, they're still messing with him to the last second, but
they're treating him terribly. I am so upset about